All right, guys, we are back. We're here to do Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 7. I want to say that any reviewers out there who are still defending Clint for his asinine behavior lacks critical thinking skills and is very immature because we all grew up listening to two wrongs don't make a right. So if Gina was wrong, then what Clint did is wrong. There's no justification in him not only offending her, but offending other people as well. And for some reason, it's hard for their minds, for the understanding to penetrate their mind. I'm telling you, they are just like Clint. They're just like Clint. And we have serious mental health problems in the black community. And I lay it down at the feet of Christianity. We're in so much trouble looking at, I don't know, Aries is considered a millennial. I think they were in 1980. So he is in so much trouble because I see that he doesn't have the skills to have a successful marriage, and neither does Clint. They are both in some serious trouble. Not just, and like past Married at First Sight. So if they don't make it in Married at First Sight, this is a trouble that is going to continue to follow them. And I just wanted to be able to, say that before I start, talking about this mess. And Clint can't have it both ways. The episode begins with Gina after their fight, and she's doing the video camera of herself, and it's down there. It's the one that's 50 seconds. I think I said something about Gina post the argument with Clint. And she was just giving us her perspective on, I guess, what made her walk away. And then it goes to Clint talking to Chris, and then Eris shows up. And then Clint is like, oh, I need you. I'm like, oh my goodness, Clint. You're supposed to be the man. Remember, he's the man that everybody listens to. I'm telling you, between Eris and Clint, I just don't know. But it's clipped down there. And I will say that what I took from it was Clint and I could see him really struggle with being wrong. He did not want to admit that he was wrong. And I even saw that on the after show. The last one where he's talking about it. Yeah. This is going to be a problem past Gina. He's got to learn how to just readily admit when he's done something wrong. The longer he tries to hold on to it, the worse the situation continues to get. And hopefully, this will be a real opportunity for him to get that. And he doesn't have to go through something else, because one thing I've learned, and I'm still learning it, this is how hard-headed, we are. You're going to keep repeating these lessons. You're going to keep knocking yourself up against the head until you finally get it. And when you get it, then you're released from that cycle of doing the same thing over and over again. And, that's supposed to be the definition of insanity. So you get a chance to stop and make a different decision, instead of just being, tugged along by your subconscious mind. Because when something is inside of your subconscious mind, it's very difficult to get it out. And it's like when Gina on that 50-second video, oh no, she's saying this at the table. So one of the things that she was saying was she's a runner. So this was like an opportunity for her to break that cycle. Because if she had been back in Nashville, she probably would have packed up her stuff and have been gone. She wanted to go and get another hotel room, if you go back and listen to that when they were fighting. But she took this opportunity to interrupt that pattern. And so I really congratulate, her for that. I really do. And I hope that that's something that's going to pan out, for her. And so I saw Clint with that. And then Aries. I actually was really impressed with Aries' conversation, because he was able to get Clint to understand that he heard what he was talking about, and he got his point. He was trying to get him to see how other people could perceive what he said. And this is like where I see Clint with another problem, is that it's like he can only see out of the left side of his eye. His right eye is completely blocked off. It's almost like, a stroke victim or something like that, or a brain injury, victim, where they can only see, literally, they can't see. They don't have any peripheral vision at all on the right. Because they only have one eye, So that's the way I see Clint. Because he didn't give Gina the benefit of the doubt, They like I said, the first part of the conversation was really good. And he wasn't enjoying that one either. And then by the time she got to the second part of the conversation, then it went up to another level. And he has judgment. He has judgment of her about that salon. So these things, like I said before, can fester. And this is the result of what happens when we allow things to fester. It was the correct decision. We were going to take a test, and then that question was up there. What should Clint have done in his communication, with Gina? And you pick A, B, C, or D. And the answer would be A. He should have let her know that she offended him when it happened. That is the opposite of letting it fester. And so hopefully this would be something, as he goes back and look, like I said, that he can get that negative information. Because, the times that I've done it where I've been stubborn, it never worked out for me. It never did. And I wasted a lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of money, and, just being stupid. Just being stupid. And just, this is one of the things that Christianity is supposed to be exuding in the community. We're supposed to be showing grace to people. We're supposed to be, looking at ourselves, doing that assessment, taking the beam out of our eye first before we go and try to take the beam out of somebody else's eye. These are the qualities, that we're all supposed to be, manifesting down here. And so when you have to unlearn bad behavior, it's very challenging. Because like I said, it's hooked up. Your brain is wired up. And when you see it, you have to stop yourself from immediately responding. So anybody out there that could hear that part of what I'm saying, I'd appreciate that, because that's the kind of stuff that if we can do this collectively, we can actually start to create some real change, in our communities. And so where am I? I'm talking about Gina and Clint. So Aries tells Clint, you know, he encourages him to really think about what he could say to Gina that would help the situation turn itself in the right direction. And so they had their not last dinner. I think this is the second time they've all met up as a group. The first time was the horseback riding, and then this is the second with the dinner, which is really interesting because normally they have the couples together more than twice on a honeymoon. So the couples actually spent more time together than they did as a group on camera. So that was interesting. So where are we? Gina and Clint. Okay, so then Clint stands up. And Eris encourages Clint to stand up as he's telling people that he, wants to say something. And it's clipped down there too. So when I first heard it, it did not sound like an apology to me. So when I actually heard Nicole say that on the after show, that was very validating. Because when the show was actually playing, it just seemed like everybody was accepting, what he said. I saw Nicole's face, but she didn't say anything, and I was like, did I hear that wrong? But then when she said it, like I said on the after show, I was like, okay, good. I'm glad that my ears are still working. So that was something. And then she said on the after show that it took him 45 minutes. It took him 45 minutes to finish. That was like, wow. See, and this is what I'm talking about. Clint has a problem with admitting that he's wrong. If he doesn't think that he did something wrong, he has a problem admitting that he did something wrong. Because even if he didn't intend to do anything wrong, it was still something wrong because it offended people, whether he intended to do it or not. So it's almost like, well, because I didn't intend to do it, then it wasn't wrong. And that's just backwards. That's just backwards thinking. Because he hasn't given all the grace and all the apology that he's asking the table for. He didn't give Gina that same opportunity to ask for his apology. I mean, she apologized in the thick of their argument, but I don't think he heard that. Because when he was talking to Aries and Chris, he brought up the whole ginger thing again. And see, this is, he wants to use that as evidence that she did something wrong in her speech to him. Using that to justify why it's okay for him to use equal amount of speech that he heard from her back at her. And he doesn't understand that he's offended. I don't know why he just won't admit that he's offended by what she did. And he needed to tell her that. You can't, if he wasn't offended, then I actually would understand why he would feel the way that he feels more, even though he was wrong, because it offended other people. It wasn't just about Gina being offended. He offended just about everybody in that room. The rest of the people heard it too. It wasn't just the women that heard it. The men heard it too, Clint. And you still want to justify. Well, I was just trying to explain that, back in my past, they heard you, man. We know. That's what you used to date. I mean, good grief, Clint. That just was ridiculous. And when she said it took him 45 minutes, I'm telling you, it's just the stubbornness. Stubborn. And then he wonders why he's 40 years old? and is not married. Him, Eris, I know him and Eris did not prepare. They did not prepare themselves for marriage. Eris is kind of reminded me of Chris from Atlanta. I actually got a chance to watch Atlanta. I went back and watched it, like in its full. When it first came on, I didn't watch the whole season. I just saw clips of Chris and Paige. So this time I got a chance to see the rest of the cast, like Virginia and Eric and Haley and Jacob. And I don't like Haley. I just, she got on that. I am glad Jacob got away from her. And I hope that he deserves to be happy. And who else was it? Oh, Clara and Ryan. And now I understand more about what I was seeing on the clips. So, Clara and Ryan. Yeah, that wasn't going to work anyway. And I wish, see, this is why I'm glad that I know what I know. Because if she knew what I know, she would have told them that because of his strong religious conviction, that they weren't going to work. I mean, they were the complete opposite. He believes in church and she didn't. That ain't never going to work. It was never going to work. And it's a reminder of why I'm never going to be interested in getting married to and hooking myself up to no Christian. So what else do I have here? Yeah, so I have either offended or not. Yeah, he has to decide if he's mad about being called a ginger or if he's not mad about it. And if he doesn't admit one or the other, then he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. Well, she did it first. Nobody lets their children do that. Nobody. Even my mama wouldn't even let us get away with it. She doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to hear whose fault it is. Both of y'all are at fault. And you need to fix it. Just say, I'm sorry. My goodness, Clint. So, the other thing I thought about too was, especially now that I'm thinking about this upcoming episode, and this clip down there too, they're kind of confused about whether or not they want to move in or whether she says that she didn't feel comfortable moving in. And I can see her looking at him thinking if she could spend the next 50 years sitting up listening to Clint. I could see that. And I'm thinking about Brianna and Vincent from season 12 as I'm saying this. They enjoyed each other's company so much that you could see them together for the next 50 years. And she really enjoyed his energy, the way he talked to her. And I could see her like the next 50 years of Clint. And that's all I got. The other thing I have written down here is that Clint isn't really a ginger. So that's another reason why I don't understand this thing that he's got with her in this ginger business. I mean, his beard is reddish. That's the most ginger part of him. But I wouldn't consider him a ginger. So I don't know about that. And then he started saying that she was talking about his light skin and his freckles. I didn't hear her do that, Clint. I did not hear her do that. So just incredible. And then he was the one that brought up, well, I'm not trying to do this as some tit for tat. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And that bad decision has now rippled over into this mess. Into this mess that we got to go and look at next week. That's the effect of making a bad decision. The other bad decision that I said a few episodes ago that him and Aries made is when they went and slept with people within that process. That is the kind of energy you don't want stuck on you. And it's come back to bite Aries. Jasmine said that they have an Instagram friend that she found out was the girl that Aries had sex with 2 weeks before the wedding. I mean, she was already going to find out anyway because he had said it on TV. But the fact that she found that out through Instagram, she didn't even need to watch it on television. She already knew by the time it aired. And that is interesting how it just kind of hit me. And that's what I was saying then. That was just stupid. Oh, I know who else I was going to say. McKinley. McKinley was dating somebody. He broke up with somebody to come on this show. And now look at the mess that he going through with Dom. They don't think. There's another Married at First Sight. They have one in England, and then they have one in Australia. And they do this on Australia all the time. As a matter of fact, I was going to review it. I'm still thinking about how would I do it, because it's a lot. That show is a whole lot, and I don't know how I would do it. So I'm trying to think. And so I took it off my thing. I had that I was going to review the U.S. and Australia. But yeah, I took Australia off because I haven't figured that one out yet. I want to review it. I just haven't figured out how I want to do it. So anyway, thank you for that rant. Okay, so I had Gina apologize in the last episode. Gina's convo at the table. I don't know what that is. Okay. And then what else do I have? Oh, yeah. So the other thing I learned, and I'm learning, not just like with Clint, but with Aries as well, and Kirsten, all of it. You know, remember when we grew up, they would say, sticks and stones can hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me. That was one of the biggest lies that has ever been created on the planet. And people walk around every day with that in their head. And that is the complete opposite. Look at what words have done to Clint and Gina. Look at what Mitch's words did to his marriage. They never recovered from when he told Christian that. They never recovered because of what the words that came out of his mouth. Same thing. And that's what I said in my last review. We have to be cognizant of our words. And it's so true. One of the things that is taught in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is, he said to love one another. And then there's a commandment. There's a commandment that he told us, 2 of them. He said that if you love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your mind, and all of your strength, then and love thy neighbor as thyself. He said if you do those 2 things, you're going to be all right. And the love thy neighbor part, that is not happening. It's not. I don't see it happening on this show. And it's really sad because I know a lot of these people can see that there's a problem. There's a problem in society. Why it's getting harder and harder for us to connect and to commit, to each other. And that's one reason why I don't have any criticism of Aries when he says that he's never been in love. I can see that. And I'm 11 years older than him. So By the time he was coming up, I was just now turning, look, 21. I had 2 birthdays. I mean, literally, I checked. That is a whole nother story time. But I ended up getting a fake ID. It was, oh man, it was masterful. And I ended up with 2 birthdays because I couldn't wait a month. I was so thirsty to go out with my friends that I could have got in trouble. I really could have got in some serious trouble. And I was willing to risk getting in that kind of trouble just so I could go out. That's how crazy I was. Anyway, I lost my train of thought thinking about, oh yeah, I was just at that age of finding out, who I was. I was making my own money. I was far away from home. And, I was influenced by, like kids today, they're influenced by social media, I think, more than they are music. But I was influenced by television, movies, and music. So they have it all. Plus, they have social media to be influenced by. So our children they really do need a solid community to lean on as they try to figure out what decisions, they're going to make, for themselves. And I wasn't a good example for a person like Aries. If Aries was around me and during those times, and he got an idea of this is how women are, I can't fault him. I can't fault him because I know my behavior wasn't something that was edifying. So being a part of that environment, I take responsibility for why Aries may not have ever, fallen in love. I'm not interested, again, in falling in love myself because it's just a lot. So I actually am really interested. I am praying for Aries to change. I really am. I hope that he does not hurt this girl because if she is weak, the way that I think that she is, if he mistreats this girl, it is going to be one of the worst decisions he ever has made in his entire life. He will live to regret it every day. And I'm really hoping that he wakes up. I really do. So, yeah, words, actions, all of that. To me, I look at it like as vibration. And that's what I see. I saw it, like I said then, when he said it was 2 weeks. He found out just before he was told he was coming on the show. That kind of vibration is not what you want it to be with you. You don't want to carry that mess. And Chris did that with Paige. He had just broke up with his girlfriend, with his fiance. And he brought all that mess on Married at First Sight. Just crazy. Crazy. Let me see. Okay. So I think I'm done with Gina and Clint. I think I am. So after they left Jamaica, they moved into their home. And I think, and they had a conversation. He wants to have a party with a Mexican theme. So that's it for them. So we'll talk about Aries and Jasmine. The other thing that kind of stuck out to me with this whole Chris and Paige situation and Aries and Jasmine is it seemed like Chris sucked the living soul out of Paige. That girl looked like it was, I'm telling you. And now Katina has jumped inside of my head too. That girl looked ridiculous by the time she got off that show. I felt so sorry for Katina. I felt sorry for Paige. And I hope I ain't feeling sorry for Jasmine. I just don't want that for her. I don't want it for any of them, but I'm just really saying I really don't want to see this with Jasmine. And that's another thing about the it's just, I don't even know the word. It's like a rot it is like a rock. And they're like parasites. When I think about Elijah Wan and Chris and now this nut, Eris, I just think of he just sucking the soul just straight out of her. And I don't want to see that. That will do something to me. Because I'm sick of watching these black women be abused on the show Lifetime. I am sick of it. And they all used sex in a different way. Like Isaac actually withheld sex. He knew his wife wanted to have sex, and he refused to have sex with her. But then, when they got in front of Cal, he wants to out her as having promised to jerk him off in some kind of way, either orally or with her hand. He did that to his wife on national television, and then knew that she wanted to have sex with him, and he kept it from her until after decision day. So that is Ryan and Clara. Who else? Chris. Chris didn't even move into the apartment. He had sex with that girl on the honeymoon. Then when they got back from the honeymoon, he didn't even move in the apartment. If that was her, I would have felt. I ain't going there. Who else? It was somebody else that had used sex. And now he go Aries with his mess. I just, okay, I'm not. Okay, yeah, so where am I with Aries and Jasmine? I don't think I got there yet. But at the dinner, they were asked to rate their marriage. And that's down in the comments. Jasmine gave it like a 7.5 and an 8. And everybody, in some way, kind of confused me a little bit. Maybe not everybody, but this one was confusing. Because she, by now, sees that something is going on with his energy. That he's not as interested in her as he was, like, when they first got married. So she knows this. And she says to the group that she thinks that they are about where she expected them to be. When she told her friends that she was thinking about having relations on the honeymoon. So I'm confused about that, Jasmine. And then to give it a 7.5 and an 8, I think that's what made Aries uncomfortable. And he was so uncomfortable, he had to verbalize that for him it was about a 7. And if he could have been truthful, I think he probably would have had it about a 5 or a 6. Because he had her at a 3 or 4 when he was talking to the guys. And she said that she felt blindsided on the after show when she watched that back, because she didn't know that he had gone out there and talked to them about something that he wasn't even comfortable talking to her about. That is complete disrespect. And he ended up doing the same thing that Clint did, just on a smaller scale. I'm telling you, man, this mess. And I have here, one of the things I love about Jasmine is that, she was verbalizing to him. She was already demonstrating her grace, but she actually verbalized it too, that this is the posture that she's trying to come to him on. It's giving you grace. And that is where I see him sucking her soul to death. And he said it too. I'm skipping ahead, but it's clipped down there when they're talking. And he's telling her about the friend vibe. Because when he was at the table and he gave that 7, he knew what he had told the dudes. And then the next morning he said he felt guilty because he knows that she thinks it's a 7.5 and an 8, and he knows that he thinks it's a 5 or a 6. So that's why he's feeling guilty. And he had to go in there and tell her that where he is more on a friend basis. And he said that there's a fundamental goodness that he understands about her. And he's gotten that the first week. He knows that she is ready to be a wife. And that's making him uncomfortable. And I'm saying this because he had done the work to prepare himself to be a husband. It's almost like, sometimes it's hard for me to remember, but Eris is almost 40 years old. And even though I didn't understand as much about marriage as I understand now, I still knew more than that. And you almost 40 years old and then you want to do this on national television? I see why his cousin thought that he had lost his mind. I really do. I really honestly do. I still say that for her to get on Jasmine, I think was inappropriate. So I said about the Instagram messages and the soul sucking. So this is a soul sucking situation. When they move into that apartment, you just go and listen to him talk to her. Just listen to him. Isaac, I'm telling you, I do not want to hear Eris talking to this woman like this for this entire season. I'm not interested in that lifetime. I will be having some serious problems. So who are we at? Mac and Dom. Mac and Dom, they, I think, had breakfast. That's like the last video I think I clipped. I wasn't going to clip it, but then I changed my mind. So I think they had breakfast. No, they went to the dinner. So they were at the dinner. They answered the question of rating their marriage. Max said 7.5, I think. And Don said that she agreed. So I thought that he did a good job. So I wasn't confused by him. And I wasn't confused by Nicole and Chris. Kirsten, I was confused. Yeah, so she was the other one. But on the after show, they said at that dinner that him and Dom was really having a good time at dinner. So that was interesting to know. And so then they have the breakfast the next morning. And I thought that was a substantive conversation. I think he got too comfortable. And then when he started messing up, it's almost like when you're correcting a child. I can imagine a child feeling, overwhelmed. Because now, 5 minutes ago, I was just doing something right. And then now I'm doing something wrong and I'm getting punished for it. And I'm being critiqued. And that's what he felt. He said he felt from her. When she thought that she was being supportive. So that was a moment. But then she said that she could understand some of what he was saying to her because maybe her dating experiences in Nashville has caused her to project that, and give that impression. But she didn't want him to have that impression because she wants him to be himself. She just is. It's the same thing that Kirsten was saying to Shaquille. She wants him to tune into and fine-tune his awareness about what he's saying because it is affecting her. So even if, again, Clint Even if it's not something that you mean, if it's something that you'll say, to your brother, to the guys, you're going to have to give a heartbeat of thought before you say it to her. And you're going to have to start this on an accelerated basis. You guys don't have this kind of time. If the honeymoon goes bad, it's hard to turn it around. I don't know what show. I don't even think McKinley watched this show. Yeah, so what do I have here? She says she feels jaded from Nashville. And I'm glad I looked at this. She said that one of the things that attracts her sexually and emotionally is your attitude. So if he wants that part of her to be available to him, then she's saying, dude, I'm going to need you to do something with your attitude, because that is a way to get me in the position that's going to benefit you the most. So I don't know if he heard that. I don't think he heard that, but we'll see. And yeah, I say that because if you go, and I'm skipping ahead, but if you go and you look at where is it? When she's at his house, and I don't think that he really explained himself well. And he's going to have to do a better job at communicating himself. He has to be succinct, and he's got to be decisive. And he has to have actually thought about what he's going to say before he just started talking. Because when she asked him, well, I see that you have a hesitation about signing a lease. So where is that same hesitation when it came down to you get married? Because that seems like way more of a leap than signing a lease. So I could actually see, and if I were him, I actually would have just came back at her with what he said to us in the outtake, that he had started the process, and he is ready and willing to take that step when it's time for them, to move in together outside of the show. And he was saving money. That's reason. And until he figured out, what he wanted to do. That's actually a blessing. So, yeah. But he didn't do that. He actually just sat there like, she had caught him doing something. And that's the wrong attitude. That's the wrong energy. He's going to have to be quicker on his feet with how he responds to her. So, and then the other thing I thought about too was when they were having breakfast on the honeymoon, she said that she was surprised now that she has as much information on him as she does. She's looking at it and she's like, I'm really kind of surprised that you would have done something like Married at First Sight. So she's already questioning, why is he on this show anyway? And that is solidified to me. It becomes more apparent when she's talking to him in the car. So I encourage you guys to go and check those two videos out. And what else? Oh, I wanted to go back at the dinner when he was giving the rating. I thought it was interesting that he said that he had found himself in a rut and he is looking forward to having help to get out of it. And that tells me that he's not listening to himself, because when they're at the breakfast at the hotel, that conversation, she's telling him she doesn't want to have to always cajole him and encourage him. She wants him to have some self-sustaining energy to be able to encourage himself, because any activities that they do together, she wants him to be engaged himself, not that she has to go in and start his engine for him. And he said several times now that he wants her to push him and he said the word push. He wants her to push him in his reluctance to do things as much as he's capable of doing. And she's telling him that they're going to have a balance. That's not a job that she actually wants to sign up for. And I don't know if he heard her. I don't know if he heard her. So yeah, I encourage you to actually go back and look at that video too, and see if you can see what I'm talking about. I think that's it for them. And so, oh yeah, is that it? Okay. And well, I don't know why I have lying to experts down here. I know that that's in that clip with Cal, but I hope, because Mac is already in trouble with Dom for his propensity to lie. So I really do hope, I really am hoping, I don't know. Okay, so where's Dom and Mac? Nope. Am I done? No, it's Nicole and Chris. Where's Nicole? Okay. So yeah, Chris and Nicole at the dinner. He says 8.2 for the rating. She says 8.2. I thought she made a good point about can't be higher because they're still trying to get to know each other. I love Nicole's faces at that table and her talking to, who was his name? Clint. And Clint has this thing about her being from New York. I don't know if he's accustomed to women being as blunt with him as he likes to be with everybody else. So, because I noticed too that when Eris was talking to him, he actually really, really took the opportunity to modulate his tone, because he could have just came out on Clint. Like in that one clip when Clint is apologizing at the table, Eris flat out told us that Clint was wrong. But he didn't say it to Clint like that. He actually had to massage. He had to massage it so that Clint could get the message. Otherwise, Clint would have blocked out Eris, and he wouldn't have been able to hear what he was talking about. So, where are we with Chris and Nicole? I'm going to go to Chris crying. I thought something was seriously wrong. I don't think that was cry-worthy. I really appreciate Nicole's patience. I don't know if I would have been that patient, because that was an opportunity for Chris to show his problem-solving skills and his ability to think in a situation. So situation happens. What are you going to do next time? You going to start crying? I did not. I'm glad that she was able to talk to him and bring him back in off the ledge. But I also understand how much he loves his animals. I said in that other video that that's where his love is coming from, those animals. And so I'm really encouraged that he decided to do this, because I can't see him having something else that would have helped him be able to find somebody like Nicole. And I really do hope that they continue on this path. It's really encouraging. I'll give you a story time. one of my most painful times. I had moved to San Francisco and I had my parents take care of my Labrador. I had that dog for 10 years. The whole 10 years I was in Texas, I had him. And he was my heart. And I found out that he had run away from my parents' house. And the thing that jacked me up was he had been gone for a year. And they did not tell me that he had run away. The fact that I am talking to my dad today is the work of the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I was not interested in ever talking to my parents again. I felt disrespected. I felt, I can't, look. So, I had a roommate, at that time, and I was living in a communal, area. And I came back and I was crying. I was crying way worse than Chris was. I mean, I was wailing. And even I knew then that I couldn't tell them why I was crying because nobody would have understood my pain. So I get it. I get why he would have been in a position to be that emotional about his dogs. I just don't think that this situation warranted that level of emotion with the situation and his reaction to it. I don't think we're equal. So, but I agree with Nicole. It does show that this man has some love. He got some love inside of him. That is true. So, they move in after the honeymoon. And then I don't know if that conversation is clipped on there. Lifetime has the clip of him crying. I don't have it. So it's going to be in the description box if you want to look at it. Or you can type in Lifetime and go over there. It's your choice. But they've clipped it on their channel. And, yeah, I just didn't want to watch that anymore. Yeah, I think I did clip it when they were having that conversation. And she's kind of giving a temperature check. She's like, oh, if it was decision day, would you say maybe? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, would you say yes? And then he was like, yes. And she's like, do you love me? And he said no. And at first I was irritated when I saw it on the promos. But when she gave him her answer and said, yeah, well, no, I'm not in love with you either. I just, it just let me know that she was just doing a temperature check. I hope she finds another way to get that information and stop asking him if he's in love with her. I would really appreciate that, Nicole. Okay. Is that it? Oh, wow. Great. No, that's not it. I got to tell you about Kirsten and Shaquille. So when she gave her answer at the table, and again, I encourage you guys to go down there and really look and listen to, and look at her facial expressions, look at Shaq. And I encourage you to look at everybody's facial expression, especially when Ayers is talking. McKinley popped up in my face. So when he's talking, and I think it's when he's answering Chris's question about would he be in love with Jasmine, look at McKinley's face when they pan over, to him. That was really, really interesting. But anyway, she gave it a 7, and I don't understand how she did that. And she wanted to get a man a kiss. And I don't understand how Shaq is okay with that. And he hadn't gotten a kiss from his wife. So, yeah, very confusing. And the only other thing I remember from them is when they were in the apartment and they were having the conversation about laundry. And she was offering, to wash his, clothes for him. And they were trying to figure out, the logistics, of it. So that was moderately interesting. Not interesting enough for me to clip it, but I wanted to make sure I said something, about it. Otherwise, they really had a short There wasn't much of them on this episode. So, I think that was, the after show. So I really appreciated Nicole's communication on the after show. She was able to check Eris, as well, and give Jasmine that support. And then I liked that she understood where Dom was coming from when she was talking about McKinley's living situation, because I'm thinking about when her mother-in-law, her brand new mother-in-law, asked her how would she feel if he wanted to move back to Michigan. And so I'm sure that hasn't faded from her memory. And then when they went down to his basement apartment, I think that in the conversation kind of triggered her. And so, and that's why I can see it from both sides. And like I said, if he had just polished up his answer to her instead of just saying, yeah, you're right, I think that would have put him in a better position and put more energy, behind the situation. And then I liked it when Jasmine said, too, that she does see that Dom, needed some affirmation, from him that, Nashville is where I want to be. Don't worry about it. We're going to, we got this thing. We're going to get this thing together. And so, but then they also saw how I guess McKinley can feel like he's being judged, by her, because he's in transition. And Jasmine was saying that she's also in transition. So I guess when they do the home visit, they're going to be going to her parents' house. So looking forward to that. And that was all down, clipped down there for you guys, to go and check it out. So I think I'm at the end of Married at First Sight. I might end up doing A Handmaid's Tale. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. And I think that's it for Married at First Sight. See, episode number 7. So I'll see y'all on episode number 8.